Next up, again, I met this candidate at the Democratic Women's Club of Kentucky. And what struck me about Vincent was when we were talking, he looked at me and he said, "What does your area need to prosper?" And that really hit home because a lot of people a lot of times don't ask you that. So everybody, welcome Vincent Thompson.
Well, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the old folks are gay. Well, the corn tops are ripe and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. Oh, weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We'll sing our song for our old Kentucky home, for our old Kentucky home far away. Where the young folks roll all around the cabin floor, they're happy, merry and bright. By and by hard times will come a-knocking at our door, in our old Kentucky home, good night. Oh, weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We'll sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away, for our old Kentucky home far away. Well, hello, my name is Vincent Thompson, and I'm running for U.S. Senate. And I sure appreciate y'all having me. The reason I'm standing before you today, I get that question asked of me a lot, and I try to veer away until I get a chance to speak at the podium, but my wife passed away in 2020. She had congestive heart failure. She was diagnosed in 2015. She had just gotten finished with her master's in education. She was a teacher as well, special education teacher, K-12. And she was diagnosed in January of 2015. Went to go to a Jewish hospital. Well, we started out in Harbor Memorial, E-Town, about that time. I live in a little town called Rineyville, just 15 minutes west of E-Town. But she had a doctor that was used to working with senior populations, and he learned real quick that he was out of his element with her. So he got us involved with the transplant group, heart and lung transplant, up at Jewish Hospital in Louisville. And for a time, things were going well. She had an enlarged upper left ventricle. And their goal was to try to get that to be reduced in size, both through medicine and some other practices. And for a couple of years, it was going all right. She had to wear a vest. It was a defibrillator. But then one day, we were on I was gone. I think I was selling seed corn at the time. I'm a farmer, raised beef cattle and goats, by the way, so that's my stock and trade. But she called me on the road and said that she woke up on the porch laying up looking at our daughter, who about the time was probably a year and a half, 2 years old, something like that. And her vest had shocked her because her heart had gotten that out of rhythm. So her doctors decided that they were going to perform a surgery called open heart surgery, but they were putting in what's called an LVAD. I can't tell you what the acronym means, but it's they cut open your chest like an open heart, and they put this pump in there, and it does all the pumping for your heart because the heart's just not strong enough to do it. When they do that, they add an extra pint of blood to your body, and course, that messes with your magnesium and potassium levels. So again, we're still hoping to, this is gonna heal a little bit, they can take that back out. Well, fast forward, probably about another year and a half, and we started noticing that the Jewish hospital was really dwindling. And I started doing a little bit of digging. Turns out that was under the Bevan administration when they were really under attack. They were attacking pro-choice hospitals across the state, but especially Louisville because it was kind of the focal point of that. So doctors and nurses were leaving by the droves. And her last doctor, we kept seeing him going in and out. The last one that we actually spoke to there said that she needed to be in Vanderbilt for a heart transplant. Her heart was not going to heal. And at that time, she had been on disability. Like I said, she was a special education teacher. She only got to teach a year and a half with her master's because with the master's level, some of y'all are probably familiar with it, you get a little bit of a pay increase. Well, nobody wanted to hire her because she required too high of a salary. She put in about 900 applications. She could have been embellishing. I didn't sit there and watch her fill out 900 applications, but that's what she told me. And so she had that job shortly, but then she had to go on disability. Well, we were on state insurance, and that because the teachers don't have their own pension program, it all goes through Social Security. So we run that. They said, insurance said, not the doctors said she needed to be at Vanderbilt the day before we talked. Insurance told my wife, told that doctor that she had to go to the state hospital, which is UK, and nothing wrong with UK. Great staff, great nurses. But we got into the program at UK, and she was admitted to UK in January of 2020. And we all know what happened in March 2020. So she was in a sedated coma for about 4 months and going through the roughest medical crisis this country has faced since I think the Spanish flu. Maybe somewhere in between there, probably something pretty close. But so yeah, she didn't come out of her sedated coma until just for her birthday, May 3rd, 2020. And we were all getting used to Zoom at the time. I put together like a 60-person Zoom call for her birthday, family and friends, because she had family all over, I had family all over, and I just wanted to do something special for her because she was finally awake. She lost the use of she had the lower right lung had collapsed, so she didn't have the use of it anymore. She was on oxygen. But we were all just ecstatic to see her. And then she pushes through 3 months of physical therapy, straining to get out of bed every day, trying to get her lungs to working right. And she gets out of the hospital. Mind you, this is in COVID, and she never had a positive diagnosis. So take that for what it was. Miraculous, fortunate, whatever you want to call it. But she gets out right for our daughter's birthday. My daughter was 7. She's going to be 7. Her birthday was August 1st, so she got like July 30th, June 31st, something like that. And we're thinking, we're finally through the weeds. We got through this. It's just miraculous that we have made it this far, and she's going to be all right. And then she had to go back in the hospital a couple weeks later, which was not uncommon because, like I said, the magnesium, potassium, it all messes with your levels. So that was kind of expected. We were like, okay, we'll get through this. But then as August turned to September, she was going in and out of the hospital. She had to be staff flighted from E-Town to Louisville. She had to be taken by ambulance 3 or 4 times to Lexington. No, I'm sorry, not Louisville, staff flighted to Lexington. And she had to be taken by ambulance to Lexington. And then she went in for the last time, probably the end of September, and then passed away October the 11th, 2020. And somewhere along the line, she had contracted E. coli. So, yeah, it was, and of course our daughter was 7 at the time, but here I am, a single father. Fortunately, I have a good family. She has a good family. I've got 4 sisters. She had a brother and a sister. Her mom, that's where my daughter Finley is staying tonight while I'm up here. And she's helped a lot through the campaign, really been beneficial for both of us. But she has autism. So that's going to segue into another one of my points here in a minute. But I just wanted you to know the impact of what that had on our family. We had planned to have several kids. I didn't have any real aspirations of being higher political. I've been serving on the Conservation District Board for about 15 years as the chairman, about 13 of those. And that was enough politics for me. I was taking care of water and soil. That was all established after the Dust Bowl. So I was pretty content there, but there's probably an itch here and there. There's maybe I'll do something, but for right now I'm just content being home with family. Well, I hyper-focused on conservation districts after she passed away because I had been kind of spread myself too thin. I was in cattlemen's, I was an extension board, I was, on this board and that board, everywhere. And I've really focused in on conservation. And then they decided to recognize me for my efforts by electing me to the state board, the Kentucky Association of Conservation Districts. And then, for reasons unbeknownst to me, the state board decided to get me involved with a leadership program at the national level. This pin on top of my hat says NGLI, Next Generation Leadership Institute. So we spent all of 2024 traveling the U.S., started out in February in San Diego, and we've quickly moved to D.C. in March for the spring fly-in. And my goal was to do a lobbying of sorts for $45 billion with a B that was allocated under the IRA bill under President Biden to go towards conservation and agricultural practices and also water management practices that I had been working on for years at the local level in Hardin County. I was a member of a cohort of 5 people, and we met 8 senators. We didn't meet 2 senators. And which 2 don't you think I met? Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. I did meet with their staff. Their staff was great. But I felt like $45 billion was worth a couple minutes of time. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I'm a pretty understanding, generous guy. And we continued traveling the country, and then we were back in D.C. in September. Well, we were actually in West Virginia. We stayed at the Fish and Wildlife Training Center. And then we drove to D.C. for one day just to do a little more lobbying. Of course, they were teaching us how this all works, this big machine we're part of, how to get funding. And I met with 8 senators again, but the 2 that I didn't meet were ours. And after that, I'd learned that McConnell was retiring. I said that if there's ever going to be a time to run for this position, it's when you're not facing an incumbent. At the time, I had no idea who might be on the ballot that would maybe hold some of the values close to their heart that I hold to mine. I met one of them. I thought we were going to be competitors, we were going to be opponents. I was worried like I was all going to go. But I consider Logan a friend right now. But that was my concern when I decided to run. And then I announced, many of y'all probably haven't heard of me, but am I going too long? No. Okay, I just want to make sure. Most places I go, I only get like 3 minutes or something like that, so it's like, oh, where's the stopwatch at, But yeah, I was, sorry, I lost my train of thought. No, the reason I decided to run because I was worried that there was not going to be somebody representing the things that I felt like needed to be taken care of, the problems that had affected me. I didn't want some other mother to be gone from her daughter on her 7th Halloween or 7th Christmas, and we've had so many of those holidays since then. So I decided to run, and that's my second pillar. Like I said, the first pillar is the fact that insurance has no business in healthcare. Their job is to reimburse healthcare, not. Thank you, not to be dictating healthcare. That's between the doctor and the patient. Amen. 100% full stop. Second pillar was the fact that I was on the conservation district, and I feel like Kentucky, especially because of our underground water sources, our karst system, and our beautiful state, we have an obligation not only to ourselves but our future generations to maintain the soil health, the water health, the beauty, the scenery, all these things that make Kentucky great. And my third and final point, like I said, my wife was a special needs teacher. My daughter has autism. In the short amount of time that we were dealing with Samantha's illness, my wife, our daughter was diagnosed she was nonverbal until 3. And then we finally got her talking. Well, pretty soon after that, because my wife had a master's in special education, she found out the programs to get her involved, and we got her diagnosed rather rapidly, more rapidly than most families in this state are able to come about it because we were hyper aware of it. I mean, I wasn't hyper aware, my wife was. I was, thick-headed. I was like, I was kind of like that as a kid. Well, that's probably because I had autism and I didn't get the diagnosis like I should have gotten. ADHD, all those other things. But in the short amount of time that my wife was living with all her illness, she tried to impart on me the importance of early childhood interventions. We have a short window of opportunity to reach these children who are fast becoming adults from 3 years old to 7 years old. That's an incredibly short window. There is no excuse why, with all the complaints we have about mental illness across this country, with all the problems that we have arising because of mental illness, drug addiction, the only long-term solution to any of those problems is early childhood intervention. That's it. We have to get that accomplished. And that doesn't mean we're going to leave behind the people who already have passed those stages. That means we have to have continued educational intervention. We have to have lifelong adult support and education. This population has been abandoned for close to 2 generations since under the Reagan administration. We are seeing the results of a plan put in motion when I was a kid, before Logan was born. There's no excuse for that. If you're going to claim to be Christian, if you're going to claim to care about people, if you're going to claim to want to better people, this is where it starts. So I've talked long enough, and I thank you for just allowing the extra time, because normally I don't get to play my guitar. But I was happy to, because it was specially requested for me to play. But those are my 3 main pillars of my campaign. That doesn't mean there aren't countless other ones that are of vital importance, but those are the ones that are important to me. And with those coming to me being focused on that at DC, I hope you can know that I won't forget about the other ones as well, because I know that I'm not alone with having passions and things that we know have to change. So again, my name is Vincent Thompson. Thank you for your time. I'll be happy to entertain any questions. So. I'm sorry?
In our last town hall, there was a woman here whose child did not speak, and she said that she and her husband did not make enough money to hire the professional help that they need when that program was eliminated, and that her child potentially would never speak because that program had been cut. Huh? With Bevan. And that tears me up.
And we've recently had one called PASS program that was cut in my own county. Now, it's not fully cut, but when you cut it at all, 2 of the schools in Hardin County where kids were already accustomed, and these are kids who need routine. They need the structure around them. When you cause that chaos, you set them back tremendously. This PASS program was cut out of 2 schools. Now there's 1 school, but these kids now have to be bused from a different district into that. And it's going to set them back 2 or 3 years to have that cut on it. And that's a recent cut. That's under what we've been hearing all night long, under new legislation. So again, I've talked long enough. Any questions? Maybe we can talk afterwards. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Logan.